How many years in prison would every villain from a pup named Scooby-Doo get for their crimes? In the series premiere, a bicycle built for Boo, Mr. Conrad, the newspaper guy, steals Shaggy's bike. Because the chain on it is just perfect for his counterfeiting machine, he keeps it in the basement of this creepy old house, and tries to scare the gang away at various points before they figure out his secret. He attacks the gang down in the basement, twice, and also keeps FBI agent Shirley McClue locked in one of the rooms, leading to a 90.5-year sentence in Colesville Penitentiary. In The Sludge Monster from the Earth's Core, Mr. Buxton, the bank manager, steals the gold from the bank, dressed as the Sludge Monster, escaping through a hole he dug into the sewer system that leads him straight to Scooby's doghouse, where he hides the gold and chases Shaggy and Scooby away. While investigating, the gang find themselves in the vault, where the Sludge Monster chases them back through the sewers and around Shaggy's house, only to be caught and arrested, where he's sure to spend the next 34.5 years for his crimes. In The Schnook Who Took My Comic Book, Wendell McWendell dresses up as Dr. Croaker to steal a bunch of first edition Commander Cool comics from the comic book convention. When Shaggy buys one of the last 3 remaining, he chases him around the convention floor. Now with the rest of the gang as backup, Shaggy gets cornered again, and Dr. Croaker takes Fred's clothes off for some reason, before stealing one of the rare copies. He tries to eat Scooby, instead eating the jack that he used to escape, and decapitates 2 cardboard cutouts trying to get the boys. Chasing the gang through the movie theater leads to an attempt at the last copy that he himself owns. But when Shaggy uses a normal version as bait, Wendell finds himself in a sticky situation, and is hauled off to Colesville Penitentiary, where he'll be for the next 25 years. In Wanted Cheddar Alive, Larry Acme dresses up as a goopy cheese monster in order to get the Scooby Snacks factory shut down, so he can take over the dog biscuit market. He causes an explosion in the factory, chasing out by my count 41 workers, and when the gang start their investigation, he puts them through a couple of chase sequences before eventually capturing them, and keeps them tied up while he steals the secret formula. Luckily, Scooby-Doo saves the day, eating Larry's costume and allowing Velma to trip him up. I don't have any cheesy puns for this one. Larry's just gonna receive 145.5 years in prison. I'm so sorry. In For Letter or Worse, Christina disguises as the ghost of Al Capone to scare the live audience of the show that replaced her old act. While the gang are on the mystery, they return back inside to find the ghost, scaring Shaggy and Velma first, before the entire gang once regrouped. It looks like she tried to tackle him here, but gets a bit ahead of herself, before absolutely failing the game show at the end, leading to her capture and subsequent 50.5-year sentence. In The Babysitter from Beyond, Molly the Mole dresses up as horror creature Boogity Bones to try and find the stolen loot that her boyfriend Manny the Mauler stashed away somewhere. She breaks into the babysitter's house, attacks Shaggy and his little sister Shuggy, before chasing the mystery gang around the house. Meanwhile, Manny breaks out of prison and heads straight for the house, being knocked back by the gang's Home Alone trap, and steals some random guy's boat to get back, so he can chase the gang with Molly. For her crimes, Molly receives 26.5 years in prison, with Manny getting sent straight back to prison, adding on another 13.5 years to it. In No Place Like Home, the forest ranger turns into the ice demon to illegally mine diamonds out of the Morgansons' land, while also trying to purchase it from them. When the gang arrive at the resort, he just barely misses hitting them with an icicle, before chasing Shaggy and Scooby around the house, breaking various objects inside, and tries to slice the gang with icicles once more. With 0% accuracy so far, it's time to switch it up, causing an avalanche right on top of the gang, before chasing them into the mines and keeping them there with his icy powers. He'll be headed to the local penitentiary for life, plus an additional 109.5 years. In Now Museum, Now You Don't, Mr. Dayton disguises as the Samurai Ghost, in order to steal the rare samurai swords from the museum and leave the country. When the gang are on their field trip, he scares Shaggy away while he takes the swords, leaving Shaggy as the main suspect. Eventually, the entire gang gets chased around the museum, leaving the ghost to become a mummy, though the sarcophagus does little to stop him. After another round of chasing, Dayton is finally captured, where he'll spend the next 15 years in the only place that's worse than a maximum security prison, Dayton, Ohio. In Scooby-Doo, Al runs a drug smuggling operation out of a skate park, being aided by Sandy Sneakers. He steals 4 dolphins from the Marine Institute to help transport the goods, scaring the gang and Velma's Aunt Thelma to steal the last one. When the gang investigate around the beach town, he corners them before hitting a sweet big spin over them, later taking this chase underwater with his sweet sharkboard. Scaring children and drug smuggling I can accept, but riding without a helmet? 71.5 years. Locked in the warehouse from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. In Ghost Who's Coming to Dinner, Jack the groundskeeper dresses up as Boobeard in order to force his employers to sell their house, preferably to him, so he can build a super high-rise building. He operates out of the Johnsons' attic, chasing the gang around a few times before adding the Johnsons themselves, capping it off by tapping Freddy on the shoulder, as his sentence rises higher and higher to 20.5 years. In The Story Stick, Mr. Ryan dresses up as the Totem Monster in order to take the native artifacts while also driving the natives off their land, so he can build a brand new hotel. He begins by chasing Shaggy and Scooby away, nearly stomping on them, and grabs Daphne, Freddy, and Velma. After they wriggle free, he chases the kids around the reservation, eventually being terminated by a termite, and is sent off to prison for the next 59 years. In RoboPup, security guard Gordon dresses up as the ghost of Chef Pierre Goulash in order to steal Daphne's entire room of expensive items, using the Blake subway system to try and get away. He's cooking up something ghastly in the kitchen when Shaggy and Scooby get caught in his food fight crossfire, before chasing the gang and the Blakes around the mansion. Eventually he gets tucked into bed a little too tight, and sends his RoboPup to attack the gang and the Blakes, keeping them tied up while Scooby meets the same fate. Kinda. RoboPup gets sent to the robotic pound, while Gordon goes to the people pound. Actually, I don't like how that one sounds. Gordon goes to completely normal jail for 72.5 years. In Lights, Camera, Monster, Vincent Thorne dresses up as his on-screen character Stinkweed to ruin the icon's image while also running off with money he robbed from a couple stores in the mall. While at the mall, he corners the gang before hitting the jewel store, scaring the jeweler off to break the case, using his stench to incapacitate Paul Blart, before hitting up the pet store to do the same, driving out one customer and a few of the animals. The gang catch the plant planting evidence at the scene, and eventually he hops in the drop top to continue the chase. Stinkweed gets 63 years in prison, which is about as much as you would have gotten for normal weed charges in the 80s. In Curse of the Collar, Mr. Tricks and Stuff tries to steal Scooby's new iced out chain that he got for his birthday, capturing Mrs. Knittingham and Scooby's parents along the way. He emerges from a present outside, but Shaggy's not impressed, as Scooby and he run inside to the safety of the kitchen, though it's not safe for long, as both he and Shaggy are eventually attacked, before the rest of the gang get caught up in his scheme to steal the collar, which he does get in the end. But Scooby does get the drop on him, and he'll be sent to Coolsville Penitentiary for the next 96 years. In The Return of Commander Cool, Barbara Simone dresses up as an alien in order to steal blueprints for new toys from the toy factory. While the whole gang gets chased by the creature, it's Shaggy who gets the worst of it, being picked up and thrown around a few times, as the alien breaks into various buildings before ending the reign of terror with smacking Scooby aside. Once the cops do show up, she'll be taken away for the next 58.5 years. Oh, here they come now. They're coming to get you, Barbara. In the spirit of rock and roll, Mr. Dilton dresses up as the ghost of Purvis Parker to ruin Buddy Chilner's reputation, so Purvis remains the king of rock. He tries to kidnap Buddy a couple of times, succeeding on the second try, and keeps him down in the basement, along with scaring the gang and this random ticket person. All of this was to cover up his theft of Purvis's gold records, and this goofball gets all shook up, and is sent to Heartbreak Hotel Prison for the next 29 years. In Chickenstein Lives, Granny Sweetwater runs a stolen goods sales operation out of her basement, and tries to get the National Exaggerator shut down before they can expose her. As the monster, she breaks into the tabloid center, grabbing Fred and Scooby before heading out through the wall. And she really hates doors, as she breaks into the mausoleum where Shaggy and Scooby are, leading to a chase of the gang through the cemetery, somehow finding a tractor to drive around on. Chickenstein is going to be cooped up in a cell for the next 33.5 years. In Night of the Living Burger, Skippy Johnson is tired of minimum wage work, so dresses up as the Burger Monster to get revenge on Mr. O'Greasy. The Burger turns bandit, stealing the bucket of cash from Mr. O'Greasy, before attacking the gang who were hired to investigate. He steals a bus during one of the chases, before dumping ketchup all over Daphne, Fred, and Velma, and kidnapping Shaggy. Scooby eventually catches up to this walking greaseball, and he's escorted to the Bucketo prison, where he'll stay for the next 71 years. In The Computer Walks Among Us, Bruce Wormsley takes over Velma's science fair robot in order to frame her for crimes and get her kicked out of school. He steals Daphne's notebook, Shaggy's food stash, and Fred's encyclopedia collection, while also destroying some school property. He grabs Velma with a machine and kicks Scooby away, before he eventually grabs the rest of the gang and eats them. Not only is he getting 87 years in prison, but he's also getting expelled and banned from the science fair. A fate worse than death. In Doggone Scooby, Paula Picasso chases Scooby around Coolsville because she wants his head. When the gang do find him, she chases them around the docks, using a swordfish to fight Fred for some reason. But before we haul her off, it's revealed it's just one big misunderstanding. She just wanted to paint a portrait of Scooby. As a benevolent being, I'll cut her some slack. I'll drop the menacing, but she's still getting popped for using a swordfish as a weapon. Like, where'd you even get that? 9 years in prison. In Terror, Thy Name is Zombo, Joey Gypner disguises as Zombo the Clown to drive away all of his business partners so he can upgrade the park into condos. He does a drive-by haunt of the gang and the turnip mascot, stealing Shaggy and taking off with him. And why'd he do this exactly? Actually, I'm kinda scared to know. What I do know is that he drove away Bart from Sloppoland, before flying at and attacking the gang, and this roller coaster tycoon will be sent to prison for about 82 years. In Night of the Boogie Biker, Red Herring is finally the culprit for one of these episodes, as he steals his aunt's motorcycle, scaring away the gang in the process. He also wins an illegal street race, which will add another couple charges. But he only took the bike so he could spruce it up for her, which is very sweet. So all charges are dropped as a result. In Dawn of the Spooky Shuttle Scare, Simon Simonson gets his space shuttle launch cancelled when he finds out that Velma's project was chosen over his own. Yeah, this grown-ass man is beefing with a literal child. It's basically your average Twitter debate. For chasing the gang and Mr. Sinclair around the Space Center, Simon will be spending the next 5 years behind bars. In Horror of the Haunted Hairpiece, Krusty Baker dresses up as Bigwig in order to chase the customers away from Daphne's arcade and get it shut down, breaking free from one of the games and capturing her. When the gang are searching for clues, he pops back out to capture the entire gang, before beginning the big chase sequence back to the arcade, throwing Scooby aside in the final battle, leaving him with 107 years in Coolsville Penitentiary, and a really bad hair day. Actually, you know what? His cooking was so bad that he served sticks as breadsticks and uncooked pasta. Can we get him for attempted murder? Okay, production gave me the green light. Yeah, life in prison. Production is just me, by the way. I just made this up on the spot. In WrestleManiacs, Herbert Blaum, aka the Coolsville Comet, dresses up as the ghost of the Hooded Heifer, in order to try and get the Coolsville Wrestling Federation shut down. During the event, he uses an explosive device to scare Baron Scuzzball off, before grabbing Shaggy and Scooby by their collars. After such a traumatic event, I think they deserve a nice little snack. But the heifer doesn't seem to agree, chasing them away before cornering the entire gang. I'm gonna sentence him to a nice 28 years in prison. Whoa, don't have a cow, man. In The Were-Do of Doo Manor, Professor Digby dresses up as Nasty Doo to try and find the missing leg bone to this Doo skeleton. He's constantly digging through the floors to try and find it, scaring Shaggy when he breaks into Scooby's doghouse, before doing the same to the entire gang, resulting in a 14-year prison stay. In Catcher on the Sly, this dog catcher tries to kidnap Scooby-Doo, trying everything to do so, including throwing the literal kitchen sink. He ends up breaking a handful of items in the process. Hey, wait, where'd he get the death laser from? Oh, right. The Second Amendment. Luckily, Scooby evades the maniac, who will now be spending the next 29.5 years in prison. And like Florence said, his dog days are over. In The Ghost of Mrs. Shusham, Bernice Binder disguises as the ghost of Mrs. Shusham to try and coerce Shaggy to return his overdue library book, after she found out that it's worth a lot of money. She breaks into the gang's treehouse and attacks Shaggy and Scooby, which is almost as serious as an overdue library book, landing her 19 years in prison. In The Wrath of Waitrose, Waitrose uses the hypnotizing smells of his food truck to control Coolsville, leaving Commander Cool and Mellow Mutt no choice but to take him down. However, that's easier said than done, as in their attempt to free Velma from her unpaid child labor, they get tied up and put into a vat of chocolate, nearly drowning. But none of this was actually real, as it was all in Shaggy and Scooby's dreams. In the end, the waiter even gives them money for their hard work. Aha, gotcha. Nice hush money, you fool. 4 years in prison for bribery. In the series finale, Mayhem of the Moving Mollusk, Lester Leonard dresses up as the Moving Mollusk to drive the Critter Getters out of business, so his business will keep thriving. The instant the gang get to New York, he tries to whack them with a hockey stick, getting a 5-minute major for high sticking. He does break free from the penalty box, chasing the rest of the gang around the streets, taking this boat in the process. The least slimy businessman in New York will receive 93 years in the state prison. And with that, another series of criminals have been served justice. This one was actually way easier to do, since all but one episode happens in Coolsville, and the gang are inarguably children in this one. If you made it up until this point, thank you very much for watching. After A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, What's New Scooby-Doo released over a decade later, which I've already done a video on. So instead, next will be the Scooby series that Warner Brothers desperately tried to hide, Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue. So if you want to watch that one a few weeks early, head on over to the Patreon and join this great group of people. And to all of these patrons and channel members, thank you very much for your support. And until next time, bye.